my little notebook and pencil. My eyes are watering. Okay. What is up, everyone? Happy Tuesday to you. I am on a little bit early, but I want to get this live stream over and sewed up. Honestly, I feel like there's not a whole lot to say here, to be honest with you. Um, for some reason, when I was looking at Candace Owens' show just now, like I remember that Kanye West song, Flash, Light, 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 that sample that Kanye did. And all I could think about was gas, light, 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 gas. Candace Owens literally just gaslit her whole damn audience. I mean, total gaslight. And you could tell that her audience was not really having her reporting coming out from her 4.5 hours of meeting with Erica Kirk. And when you listen to, I look at people's body language, and I look at, I kind of just look how people execute consistently, right? And so I'm looking at Candace Owens, and she is clearly looking and kind of even knowing that she's kind of gaslighting these people. And even, in her normal fashion, it's like she's kind of let them down a rabbit hole that really has no conclusion, right? I mean, these investigations that Candace Owens, pursue, they're enlightening at best. They allow the, average person to think critically. But at the end of the day, they're going to be left high and dry. And that's really what I think people who follow Candace Owens's content have to really concede to. It's like you're going to go down a rabbit hole. You are. It's going to be exciting. It really is. It's going to be interesting. You're going to be tuned in. And then all of a sudden, it's just going to be blue balls at the end. Really. Right? And I think that people were thinking that this private meeting with Erica Kirk was going to somehow create some resolution of what happened truly to Charlie. When really it seems like, Turning Point USA really went there to give Candace clarity on some things that she has been reporting. She herself, even in her live stream, admitted that I went too far here, and maybe I should clarify here. So she's even saying, yeah, I said some things prematurely, so now she's backtracking as well. And I'm just really was there for the commentary, but I was also there to see what her audience would think about her reporting of this meeting with Erica Kirk. And you guys catch her stuff on the replay. You can look at some of those comments. Those people weren't really satisfied with what Candace was saying to them. It's almost as if they were led down this rabbit hole, and somehow maybe they thought that at the end of this meeting, they were going to have some, clearer picture of what happened to Charlie. But no, if anything, Candace Owens diverted to Tyler Robinson, right? It's almost as if, she was, confirming the plausibility of Tyler Robinson now. And, everybody's, can think how they want to about that. I still think Tyler Robinson, that whole thing is suspect. But now they're talking about this whole coordination of this kid planning this with some possibly other people. And so Tyler Robinson seems to be the more plausible thing now. And it seems as though Candace is conceding that way more than she's been focusing on Turning Point USA, some of these dealings, and Israel. Now, I felt like Candace was about to gaslight her audience when she started off with that Shabbat Shalom. She even took the time to change her intro to some Jewish sounding music, right? Basically, starting the show off trolling the Jews so that she can at least let her Jew hating audience, the portion of it that hates the Jews, know that no, I didn't sell out to the Jews, right? So she needed to kind of establish that right away. But when you're listening to the entire show, it's just a big freaking gaslight. And mind you, if you follow this channel, I'm very facetious. I don't give a fuck about any of this stuff. Really, I don't. It's comedy and popcorn in Satan's world for me at best. But you gotta give Candace Owens the Gaslighter of the Year award. If she somehow switches course from anything that she's been doing before because she met with Erica Kirk, she's basically led these susceptible people down another rabbit hole that's going to leave them blue ball. They're going to be blue balled about this Charlie Kirk thing. And honestly, Tyler Robinson at the end of the day is all the public is going to get, right? And Candace knows this. She knows even, the microscope that she put under TPUSA, all the little dots that she's connected to create probable doubt that Tyler is the true killer, right? She knows that it's already planted the seeds in a lot of people's mind, and no matter how much you want to clean up and say, well, after looking at the evidence and the lawyer, and understanding why Turning Point USA, okay, I get it, yeah, I get it. And it's like almost, it's like the Tyler Robinson narrative is now probable for her. And it's just interesting to me. It's just interesting to me because, again, this is the narrative that they need to go on. You're right. With the Tyler Robinson, it was Tyler Robinson and the coordination on his end. This is cut and dry. And now Candace is cleaving on to that narrative after she met with Erica Kirk in private. Interesting. Let me get to the comments. What's going on, Robin? What's going on, Kevin? I see you, the president touched because the Jews have historically always loved black people, right? I don't know about that, bro. They've leveraged quite a few of us. I guess that's the extent to their love. We're still goyams. Anyways, to some of them, not all of them. I'm not a Jew hater, but I am a Talmudic Jew disliker. But anyways, those are the demonized Jews. We don't like the demonized Jews. The other good Jews, they fine. But anyways, Candace Owens, I'm sorry, she gaslit them folks. She gaslit them folks. And the resolution to that meeting was to calm the storm in the conservative movement. And if I can imagine what the conversation was with Candace, it's like, look, and this is what I can imagine TPUSA is saying. Let's just say that Tyler Robinson is the shooter. If you continue on with these deflective public investigations, right, it's going to help Tyler Robinson. It's really going to deflect from the outcome of that case, and Charlie may not get justice. And let's just say that Tyler Robinson is the shooter. You're going to ruin, the chances of getting justice for Charlie if you keep going out on your platform, creating reasonable doubt, connecting all these little dots that make people look at it as being more of an inside job than a dude that looked like Charlie Kirk that had a trans somebody in their life, right? So that's basically what I can imagine Turning Point USA creating that appeal to Candace. It's like, if you really care about Charlie, right, you're going to slow down on what you're doing for not just, not for the interest of protecting us, but for the interest of protecting this case, because you don't know shit definitively. And that's one thing that everybody can agree on. Candace Owens is always going to be connecting dots. She's going to create the probable motive, probable cause, but she's never going to close anything definitively. All her Nancy Drew, Super Sloop, capades is only going to create critical thinking and connecting dots. It's not going to solve any cases, right? If when all is said and done and this Charlie Kirk murder thing is over, it's not going to be solved by Candace Owens. Candace Owens is not going to have the credit for bringing Charlie Kirk to justice, and that's just 100%. And we can already tell right now, like from the way that she's talking on her platform. I think that people who follow Candace Owens and watch her repetitively, you can tell when Candace Owens is speaking with conviction. You can tell when Candace Owens is speaking with confidence. And you can tell when Candace Owens is tiptoeing around some bullshit, right? That show that she just did was some tiptoeing around some bullshit. And 9 times out of 10, the resolution was that Candace, focus on the Egyptian planes if you want to. Focus on, you know, Israel and all your little Jew hating rhetoric. I think the Jews are kind of, used to it by now. Israel is used to it by now, right? They're like, you ain't stopping no hustle with your little rhetoric, Candace. So carry on. We don't give a fuck about that, right? You know, but don't put a microscope under Turning Point USA anymore, right? If you want to isolate certain people, like notice Blake Neff, he's on the chop block, right? Candace was able to put him on the chop block a couple of times in that show, right? He's on the chop block, so you can throw a couple of people under the bus, right? But stop talking about Turning Point USA specifically. So with the Rob McCoy, so some of the reporting that Candace Owens is doing, like Rob McCoy, right? Turning Point is distancing themselves from him, right? And so according to Candace, he doesn't even work at Turning Point USA. She said that was a mistake on her part. She thought, based off of his representation and what he was sort of putting out, or whoever was putting out on his behalf, he made it seem like he was an affiliate of Turning Point USA, right? And so she's going into all these little things. And then to kind of seal the nail in the coffin of the gaslight, right? You always got to make yourself a victim, right? Because when you're about to change your position, right? When you're about to, you got to kind of make yourself victimized by other people. So as opposed to Candace really sticking to the points of what was discussed that was pertinent to what she was saying, right? And giving more information. You talk about 4.5 hours. And that's all that Candace Owens gave her people. 4.5 hours, a meeting with Turning Point USA, a lawyer, apparently. And you go through that show and it's blue balls. It's blue balls. Like, I'm sure anybody who is a diehard Candace Owens fan was like, what the hell is this? Gas, light. Let me pull up Candace show. And this is just fair usage. Gas, light. As you recall, I love to show off. Candace needs to stop playing with Kanye, because she getting just like him. She getting like him in so many different ways. And that may not be a good thing for her, because Kanye West ain't knee deep in politics. The things that Kanye West say don't necessarily sway elections. So she's not necessarily like Kanye on that regard, because, Kanye is a musician, right? She's knee deep in politics, where the shit she say can sway elections on so many different levels. This is why they are really panicking with Turning Point USA, because some of the shit that Candace was saying, and she'll even say it in her show, that one of her trigger points was, I guess, she was not happy with the lies. And so what really got Turning Point activated with Candace is when she tweeted about it being an evil organization and that people should not, have involvement or subscribe to or whatever she said. It triggered because, again, that was a money post. That was a "you're cutting into our money" post when you post things like this and all those damn people are listening to you. So Erica had to show up and start kind of addressing some of this stuff because it was cutting into the money. But again, they played the Erica card the way wrong way. Like I said, Erica Kirk was always a card to play. You just shouldn't have played her so damn soon. And that's the dummies on their side's fault, right? But they did not make Erica Kirk look good. Matter of fact, she started looking like the sacrificial lamb. And it was interesting because Candace said that she said some things to them that Erica Kirk said that she was not aware of. So there were some things going on in Turning Point USA that perhaps Charlie and even Erica did not know of. And so I do agree with Candace. You need to check your circle and make sure that the people within aren't foul. Because if you're saying that I know stuff about your organization that you don't even know, maybe you need to check your people. And so I do agree with her on that it's interesting because as the more people kind of scrutinize Erica Kirk, and after this meeting, the more I'm thinking to myself, maybe Erica Kirk didn't know some of the stuff that was going on that are being alleged about this organization. Maybe she really is coming in as the widow who's just trying to keep her husband's legacy alive, and maybe not realizing that somebody possibly from within was the one that destroyed it or took it from her. And that one comment that Candace said, well, Erica was like, well, I didn't know that. Now, she could have been lying. Now, obviously, she could have been lying, right? But let's just say that Erica was telling the truth. Maybe it's not that fair to, you know, even though I'm still thinking that Erica looks mad performative. I'm sorry, like I said, they played Erica the wrong way. They played her too soon, and they played her just like they set that woman up to look like a sacrificial lamb. Because every press strategy that they had with Erica around what Candace was saying did not make her look good. So everything that Candace was saying was directly not just hurting TPUSA. It wasn't making Erica and the things that she's been doing since Charlie died look good. And it really opened her up to a lot of scrutiny. And maybe she is on that grieving widow mission to keep the husband alive, and she don't really understand that I'm not paying attention to any of the stuff that Candace Owens is saying until it starts hitting my credibility. And boy, if you go on different social media platforms, there's this girl who does Erica Kirk parodies, and she looked just like her too. She got the little blonde wig looking like Daenerys Targaryen and shit. But she looks just like, Erica Kirk, and she does so many parodies. Erica Kirk has been the butt of a lot of jokes, but who have not been the butt of a lot of jokes? Them damn men in Turning Point USA. The men that really Candace has been more laser focused on. They have not been on a under the microscope and under the scrutiny and the clowning nearly as much as Erica. And this is why Erica to me looks like a sacrificial lamb. Instead of a grieving widow that should be behind the curtains a little more, while there is a Turning Point USA trusted spokesperson in the interim acting on the behalf of the organization, they got her just all in, right? And maybe that was her choice, but it did not make her look good, especially when you got Candace Owens damn near narrating with all the little dots that she's connecting, that Charlie might have been taken out by somebody from within because there was money on the line. And again, Erica was not aware of some of these other organizations, which I just was like, again, these are more business operational side, but it is interesting that If Erica didn't know about these side chicks organization, I wonder did Charlie know about the side chick organizations? So, anyways, let me get to my chat because I'm not even trying to read it down there, y'all. If you're over 40 gang, y'all already know life gets blurrier after the 40. But, anyways, let me look at my chat here. What's going on, chat? And whoever move is, yeah, I don't know what you're talking about. That we ain't gonna just demonize gay people on this channel. What the hell is wrong with you? Right? Leave gay people alone. If they ain't messing with you, don't mess with them. All right? You can't dictate how anybody wants to live their life. You don't have to advocate it for it. You don't got to accept it, but leave them folks alone. Don't come up in my chat trolling gay people because that's not what we about. Right? We pray for gay people. All right? We pray that the good Lord will heal them of the childhood trauma that led them to that path. Because a lot of gay people gay because of abuse. And we got to keep it a buck. There's a reoccurring theme with a lot of these individuals with these alternative lifestyle, and a lot of it is grooming and abuse. And a lot of times it's with somebody trusted, and that is what turns a lot of these people into these lifestyles. It's definitely not something you're born with. I don't give a damn how many people want to lie about that. It is definitely environmental. I think the cases more times than not prove that. But anyways, you guys, Erica's parents both work at high level jobs in the DHS. I mean, but just because she comes from a family of privilege doesn't necessarily mean that Erica, is, because I've been hearing people say, well, she was Charlie's handler. Well, she was a much older, she was like, what, 5 years older than him. A woman who she's obviously, to me, she appears to be a power hungry woman, right? That's definitely something she gives to me, right? And there's nothing wrong with being a power hungry woman and coming from a powerful family. I mean, and some kids almost feel the pressure that they need to do something powerful and significant like their family. Now, if I were to dig into Erica Kirk's earlier career, right, the one thing that I would kind of parallel her to is Aisha Curry. No matter what you want to say about Erica Kirk, she's not the sharpest tool in the shed, right? She can't think off the cuff. There's no fucking way she was going to do a live debate with Candace Owens, because Candace Owens would have ate her ass up and chewed her out like JT did Cardi in that recent diss track she did after Cardi dropped, right? Candace would have chewed her ass up in an open debate. There's no way that Erica Kirk would have been primed enough to do that. And let's just keep it a buck, right? And this is no white and black card game, but it's a game of the better speaker. And Candace is the better speaker, the better thinker. It was not going to be good PR for Erica Kirk to ever do a live type of a debate on those topics with Candace Owens, right? Without slipping up and saying some shit either, right? Another reason why I think this meeting needed to be private is because Erica does not seem like she can really think off the cuff. It seems like everything she's been doing has been properly curated for the public to see. But if we were to ask her to think off the cuff, it wouldn't be what anybody would want. It really wouldn't be what anybody would want from a PR perspective. She needs to be curated, much like Kamala Harris. You don't need to curate women like Candace Owens, right? Or people like Candace Owens and myself, right? Because we can think off the top of our heads. We can connect the right dots to feel confident about what we're saying with conviction, right? Erica looks like she needs coaching. So a public debate with Candace would have never been a good PR strategy for Turning Point, especially if they're talking about debunking what they would consider lies or misinformation. Wasn't going to be looking good. They needed to do that private. And I understand why they did it private. But I'm thinking to myself, that show to me, Candace said the conversation was productive. It was a big step in the right direction. What direction, Candace? What direction? Just like she said, the lawyer asked her in the very beginning, where is this going? what is your end game? Because if she's thinking that she's going to be this super investigator that's going to bring justice for Charlie on a side chick thought or that she's been thinking about, she's wrong, right? She is absolutely wrong. And you can tell how wrong she is because the FBI has not really come out and said that they are taking anything that Candace is saying seriously. They're like, oh, we're looking into everything. They're being very vague because they are on Tyler Robinson. That is their case. That is their guy. They're not going to be looking at any other type of conspiracies or coordinations to take Charlie Kirk out of his own damn organization, even though Candace's theory is way more plausible, way more stronger. you know they're going to give us Tyler Robinson, just like every other major profile case where this is the guy you're going to accept and you're going to move on and shut the fuck up. And eventually the public is going to move on with another distraction, right? They're doing their best to distract us from a lot of this stuff. Epstein photos are surfacing. Some of these photos we've seen before, but they think that the public is dumb. So it's like they're like, you're not going to remember these. Like, who the fuck cares about Epstein and Woody Allen? We knew he was a pedophile. We knew what was up with Woody Allen, right? So why do we care about photos with him and Epstein? I think what really people are looking for is those photos of those bankers and those lawyers and those judges that were frequenting Epstein's spot. They're looking for those things. So I mean, I would say to Democrats and Republicans, stop gaslighting the public on Epstein at this point. Don't even let those jokers run on Epstein in your face anymore to the constituent basis, right? Because unless they drop in lawyers, bankers, doctors, and all of those kind, which we know was kicking it with him, and we know a lot of those people have power hunger issues and stuff, so we know they probably playing with old boy called tadpoles. Yeah. So, but just keep it real, y'all. We're not going to get what we want because, again, I said it. And I said that I was one of the first people to say it, if not the first people. And this was years when the Democrats was playing with people. If that list drops, the market will crash. The market will crash. It will crash. And people were like, well, so what? Who cares if the market crash? Your grandmother, who's not even paying attention to this shit, who's still invested, right? Your auntie, your uncle, all these people who really don't give a fuck about this Epstein shit, they care if the market crashes. So stop letting these people gaslight you with all these little, distractions. Like, because that's really what it is. And I am looking at Candace Owens as being one of the Optimus Prime distractors of people, right? And my whole thing is, if y'all can dig into these weird ass investigations so deeply, somebody got on my channel talking about something. You need to watch all of her videos. No, I don't. No, I do not. Okay, let me show you something. Where's my look, I just moved some stuff around because my house looks like Santa's little workshop right now. I got birthday party stuff coming up with my child and stuff, so I had to kind of turn my desk. Where's my apocrypha that's marked up? You think I'm about to sit here and binge watch like this shit on a regular? No, I will not be watching Candace Owens shows regularly. And I mean, I will check in when I feel like it, and I will get it piece by piece. But I don't have time to just over absorb in the affairs of men and Satan's system of things, right? You got these Christians talking about, I'm fighting for America. I'm fighting for my country. You can go ahead and fight for whatever you want to. But again, the revelation says that judgment is coming upon all the nations, including your precious America. So you can fight for that shit all you want to, or you better put yourself in your Bible. You better put your face in your Bible and start understanding that you ain't saving nothing, right? Because your Lord and Savior is coming to destroy it. And that is just the truth of the matter. We are the feet mixed with iron and clay. We are the judgment generations. And a lot of people were like, I'm going to be dead before I see the Savior come. You better hope you dead. You better hope you die before your Lord and Savior comes, because he's bringing judgment upon individuals and nations. So, and I think a lot of Christians, they got all their faith in Trump and all these affairs of men. It's like, y'all apostates, especially the Zionist Christians. Y'all belong to your father, the devil. If you say that you are a Zionist, right, you are a Satanist. That is what you are. That is what you are. You are a Satanist. But anyways, you guys, FBA B1, what's going on, Philip? I see you. I see you. I see you. What else was on my radar? What else was on my radar? A lot of crazy stuff going on in the world, you guys, but we just keep our prayers up and keep it moving. Keep it moving. But let me know if you guys saw Candace Owens' show. Big ass gaslight. Big ass gaslight. Like, she came back not with the conviction that I thought she was going to come back with. She looked like she came back with, like, it's almost as if somebody said some shit to Candace. But she had to look like, oh, it was productive, it was this, but I got to back down from this shit. If we see Candace Owens changing her tune, backing down from anything that she's done, because or pussyfooting around shit, y'all gonna know some shit. Y'all gonna know some shit. Y'all gonna know some shit right then and there. And honestly, she was like, and people were like, I didn't sell out. She was like, I would never do that. Some things go without saying, right? Even if somebody thought that I might have sold out, first of all, if I were Candace, right? And everybody does things differently, right? But if I was going as hard as Candace has been going on Turning Point USA, and not so much Erica Kirk by name, but she basically saying there's a lot of suspect shit going on with Turning Point USA, and she is really centering her investigation, her talking points on Turning Point USA and debunking the probability that Tyler Robinson was the shooter, right? This is what you have committed all your super sloop time to in the last couple of months, only for you to meet with Erica Kirk and now introduce some level of probability that Tyler Robinson could be the shooter, right? That somehow it is possible, and we have to wait. And and Candace is intelligent enough to know that the FBI is not going to make public every aspect of an investigation, right? But that caveat would never come in all the shit that she's saying, right? Like, it's not a very apparent caveat, right? But after the Erica Kirk meeting, she has to make it clear to her audience these things, right? Because really, Candace was trying to basically chill her audience from this Turning Point USA and Erica Kirk thing, because it wasn't making them look good. So for Turning Point, this meeting was more damage control. And they needed Candace to come out saying exactly the type of things that she's saying right now, because it takes the pressure off of them. It does. It takes the pressure off of them. And maybe, right, there's an interest for Candace to do that. And who knows what that interest may be. But I'm just saying, if I were her and I just met with Erica, depending on what we said, it would have been more like, okay, I met with Erica. I said a lot of things, and I am, I'm at the point where I do still feel like this is an inside job. I do still feel like Turning Point USA needs to, and she did say that, right? But it was really opening the probability of Tyler Robinson up more and making sure that she focuses on telling her audience to think about Tyler Robinson's scenario as well. But that was not what she was focused on the last 3 months. And that was a whole damage control meeting. And I think when you kind of peel back the layers of Turning Point USA, Candace has said and alluded to a number of things that arguably has caused reputational harm on that organization. And if they wanted to pursue some type of legal, pursue on her, they possibly could. Because again, you have to demonstrate reputational harm. Candace has a text calling the organization evil and telling people not to subscribe. Now, if that doesn't spell, you probably have a lawsuit, right? So I think that this was damage control on both sides. You're gonna stop going so hard, talking all this shit, blah blah blah, whoop de whoop de whoop, or whatever, and even down to these tweets causing reputational harm. And Candace had to get on her show and basically acknowledge those things that she did, right? And maybe I did this and I was angry, so blah blah blah. But you're on your show admitting that you took an action out of anger that could have possibly caused reputational harm to Turning Point USA if that was the catalyst for the organization to eventually start responding to you. So again, Candace Owens is going to lead people down rabbit holes, and at the end of that journey, you're going to be blue balled. You're going to be blue balls. All right? Your balls are going to be blue like a smurf because there's not going to be a resolution. And I've said this before. I look at, people connecting dots. I see what Candace is doing, but she does this all the time, even with that Kamala Harris shit. Maybe her whole agenda was that I want to microscope Kamala Harris, call to, mind her blackness, and her black roots and all this stuff. Maybe that was her agenda with all that. But, it was still blue balls after that. Blue balls. Brigitte Macron, she's a man. She has cock and balls, right? That's kind of what she's telling everybody. But at the end of the day, what does Brigitte's possible balls do for America? Honestly, I'm still trying to figure out let's just say Emmanuel Macron married a transgender woman. How does that change my American life any? At the end of the day, and if she's trying to reveal a bigger pedophile ring, fine. But even still, Emmanuel Macron marrying his possible transgender wife when he was a full adult age, what does that do for Americans? What does that do for me? How does it impact America? It seems like it's more of a France, discussion that their first lady may have cock and balls, but it really has nothing to do with us. So she's going the distance on this shit, some of this shit, and it's like, and she used gaslight so much in her show. Meanwhile, she was gaslighting her audience the entire time. Her body language spelled, I'm gaslighting you. I'm not telling you everything, which she said she wasn't, but obviously to me, that meeting was. And then you start off trolling the Jews. The first thing you do, I'm trolling the Jews, blah, blah. I just want to let you guys know that I didn't sell out to Israel or anything like that. That's great, right? I don't know. I'm a little over this Charlie Kirk thing at this point, this whole meeting, and maybe that was the objective, to really kind of get people over it, right? If, and depending on how Candace comes moving forward with this Charlie Kirk thing, we'll see, right? Obviously, she helped Erica Kirk with this meeting, though, right? She did help Erica Kirk because, again, she said that Erica Kirk mentioned to her there are certain things that she was saying that Erica didn't even know about, right? So it kind of makes Erica look like the sacrificial lamb. She looks like a sacrificial lamb. Maybe she knows it or not. Maybe she's doing exactly what she thinks is in the interest of Charlie and her Turning Point USA, and she don't realize how they're setting her up to look mad suspect as well. Because who feels compelled to go that hard for their organization family, and you got kids at home, and your husband was just assassinated in front of everybody? I still don't buy this over projected, curated grieving widow card that they keep force feeding down our throats. And really, the media and the PR people have really made Erica Kirk look terrible. I feel sorry for the woman. I really feel sorry for the woman if she's just running around following orders. Because I would have been like, fuck you and your crew. Y'all not about to see me for at least 3 months. Because I'm going to grieve my husband. But she ain't on that time. She like, I mean, I actually was looking back at my text messages as I was deleting them. And I got this message from Erica Kirk. It was about, like, from Turning Point USA, in a text message. And it wasn't even 5 days after Charlie died. And Erica, grieving widow, this, they lit a fire in this widow. Donate, donate, donate. Erica looking like a hustler right now. She looked like a grieving hustler. I mean, in the name of Charlie, she is hustling, hustling, hustling. That's all I got to say. That's all I got to say about that. Charlie said, never stop asking questions. Erica said, stop asking questions. So who is really following what Charlie would have wanted? It's obviously ain't Erica. I agree. And I think the reason why Erica had to step up too is because Candace Owens was going way too much harder for her husband than she was. I mean, it was undeniable. It's like, and when you, and then whoever sent Erica Kirk on that stop campaign, they pretty much nailed the coffin in her reputation. Because it's like, anytime that they're teeing her up to tell, different commentators and people who love Charlie, who want to get to the bottom of what happened to him, to stop, it's like, Erica, that's the wrong thing that you need to be saying, boo boo. Like, why would you want anybody to stop investigating what happened to your husband? Right? Especially if there's some suspicious things going on around your organization that maybe you didn't even know about. You know what I mean? I'm going to give her, credit of ignorance, right? She may have not even known some of the sneak shift thing that was happening with Turning Point, or maybe the business model had gotten so complex that she wasn't aware, right? But they make that woman look like the sacrificial lamb. They really did. They should not have put her out there in front of people right away. And that's where Turning Point messed up. Whoever the PR group, her, maybe Erica made the decision, honey, you need to step back and grieve, because y'all doing too much and not enough, and it's making y'all look really weird to a lot of people. It really does. It makes you look weird as hell. But that would be the Mossad agents in TPUSA who told her to stay. Y'all are so committed. I mean, look, they everywhere. They on the internet. They stopping my live stream right now. It's like, y'all gotta, like, listen, Americans, American patriot people, you know, American Christians, your pastor is probably an apostate. And I don't say that with, like, they're probably maybe a decent person. Maybe they're an ignorant apostate, but likely your pastor is an apostate, because they don't explain prophecy to you. They don't explain the significance of prophecy for you. And that's why so many of you are running around like, America, Israel, it's always America. When we're tired of being involved with Israel, we don't say no to Israel. It's like, they're the second beast. They're in union. Okay? America and Israel are in union. All right? They are in union. And they are the feet mixed with iron and clay. And because those people that call themselves Jews over there are mocking the scriptures, right? They are the clay portion of the feet. And of course, obviously, America, we're remnants of bastard Rome, and that's where we make up the iron of the feet in Daniel's prophecy. And what does it show? That end times come at the feet, right? And so when you look at these world dominant these powers continuously collapse, right? You're gonna see that more and more. You're gonna see that more and more. And America is a desperate nation at best right now. Because again, you get sovereign power of the world when you hold the world reserve currency. When the dollar is the world reserve currency, but when you get other nations who are hedging their economies because the United States have weaponized their power as world reserve currency with sanctions, right? And these nations start to hedge their economies against the dollar, right? And de-dollarizing is just a fraction of what's going on in America right now, because we got to talk about American companies. They're not producing. This is straight stagnant economy. I don't give a fuck what these liars are telling people. This is a stagnant economy. People can't find jobs, and the jobs that are posted, a lot of them are dummy jobs. And Trump, with his tariffs, he was not honest with people. Yeah, you can definitely incentivize a lot of companies to bring their businesses back to America, but they still got to break ground. They still got to get factories up and running. They still got to get factory staff. That shit is not overnight. Half of that shit is not even Trump's whole term. That's after Trump's term, if whoever comes in after Trump don't stop what he's doing, right? You got to have continuous long-term economic policy to really see results. But Americans really don't process or even think about, from an economic standpoint, whether it's a Democrat or Republican administration, if you got Democrats coming in with this economic policy, and maybe they trickle down some economic policies from a former Republican administration, but they come in and just kind of do their own little thing, revamp things, right? America is not operating with a long-term economic strategy. And we have not been operating with a long-term operating strategy for a very long time. I'm talking decades, everybody. So, I mean, again, we are living in the era of the beast, right? We are living in the age of inflation, right? And we are living in the era of collapsing world powers. And so, I mean, again, we shall see what happens. I pray for everybody. I pray for judgment on the nations. I'm tired of these wicked ass men on earth, and I think it's time for the eradication. Heavenly brothers, don't delay. Anyways, better learn Chinese. That's how BRICS came to be. Here's the thing. You look at BRICS as being like the NATO of the East. That's how I look at BRICS. I look at them as kind of starting off, launching as an economic conglomerate, but they're really a military alliance as well. And I think that, to the extent that BRICS will behave like NATO, we'll see. I think that warfare looks different these days. So sometimes it's not just always boots and war on the ground. There's a lot of cyber warfare, a lot of ways in which you can hit people from a warfare standpoint. Cyber warfare, economic warfare. Warfare has evolved these days where it doesn't even have to seem like bombs are everywhere. You can just drop bombs on somebody's supply chain. You can do sanctions. You can immobilize some country to their economic power, like they did in Russia when they bombed that Nord Stream, 2 pipeline, right? They can, warfare comes in things like that where they can cripple you economically as well. So there's a lot of warfare going on right now that obviously the average person is not aware of, right? But it's happening all the time. Cyber threats, security threats, companies being hacked, right? A lot of this shit is real, it's real time, but a lot of people, sometimes it's even underreported, because they don't want the public to panic. Tariffs affect everyone. Absolutely, tariffs affect everyone because, again, you have to let tariffs kind of play out like they did back in the day. And again, since we haven't been under an economic policy where we're getting revenue from tariffs and not so much income taxes of the people, right? That takes time. And I think when an administration starts popping out economic policies, they need to be realistic about the time, right? It's like investing, right? Somebody give you $1,000 and they're like, well, I want this to be $10,000. The first thing I'm gonna say is, how much time do I have? Right? Because I'm not your messiah, I'm not a deity, right? And investing is all about long-term strategies and time. If you don't have time to do it, nobody's about to work a miracle for your ass. You better go get a second job, for real. But that's just what it is. I can't see the chat from over here. Let me move over here for a second. You said every pastor that is going to Israel must be scrutinized heavily. The only thing they can be scrutinized, as Zionists, right? They're Zionists. And, obviously those pastors are going to reflect the satanic apostates of the Christian faith. you know Christian Zionism, Jewish Zionism, they are satanic extensions of whatever people think is Judaism and whatever people think is Christianity. Zionism is that satanic portion. And honestly, for Christians, your mark of the beast is Zionism. Because if you have Zionists in your heart, your head, your deeds, you know, you you got the mark of the beast with that Zionist stuff. So don't think you are one of the blessed ones. Shout out to the non-Zionist Christians. You are the Messiah's children. Stay faithful to the end. We're almost there. All right. Most of everything imported. I don't buy imported goods if I can avoid it. Yeah, support local farmers, right? They are struggling. U.S. farmers are struggling under Trump. And it's kind of crazy because I'm going to say this to you, U.S. farmers. You voted against your own interests. You literally voted against your own interests. You did. You did. Like, like, well, here's the thing. No, it wasn't your fault, right? Because these people lie to you, they gaslight you, right? But whether it's a Democrat or a Republican, I want you to know that these people are the kings and queens of insider trading. That's number one, right? Wall Street Nancy Pelosi, all right? These people are the kings and queens of insider trading, all right? And when it comes to, their stock portfolios, whatever they're doing, you know, even if they're bucketed with ETFs, all right, they are supporting huge corporations that are against U.S. farmers. They are invested in huge corporations that are against U.S. farmers. So when they have U.S. farmers and all these people on their lips, right, just understand that they're gaslighting you. They are telling you what you want to hear. All right? They are telling you what you want to hear, but they are secretly invested against your interest. Right? You listen to farmers and you listen to how, they just get outbidded by these big corporations. A lot of their shit is woven and they're beholden to these big corporations. They can't, there's very little room to negotiate prices because the bigger corporations have basically saturated the market so much. These little farmers don't have a chance. and they rely on welfare, or as the white folks like to label it, subsidies for them. And Trump is not with the welfare. The Republicans are not with the welfare. So, unfortunately, U.S. farmers have voted against their own interests when it comes to Trump, which presents the opportunity for the Democrats to save their graces, right? You got to start playing these people against each other, right? So, if you see how they're betraying you with their policies, this is opportunity for a Democrat to hold a Democrat accountable for sign sealing delivering that as a first day promise to U.S. farmers. But they're not. They're not, right? Because they're invested in your competition. Satan's world, y'all. Keep your prayers up. Keep your prayers up. That's why Argentina just got that bailout. Let me tell you something. If you allow the United States to rob your natural resources, then they will, right? Like Venezuela, they are very clear. We know you are coming for our natural resources, and we know you're going to frame this as we got drug cartels dropping fentanyl off in your country. I mean, really, you're just trying to imperialize ours for our natural resources. It's the rules of the game. And honestly, I expect for the United States and their side chick, you know, Israel, to imperialize economies more. All right. So that is one thing I don't expect to stop. Because usually, when, like, if you study the fall of the Roman Empire or any major empire, usually when you notice the economy dwindling first, and usually they'll try to do last rites to save the sovereignty of the nation, and so they gotta go imperialize like other lands to kind of rob them of their natural resources. So that's kind of where America is right now. Like, we about to imperialize the shit out of some of these lands around the world. Just understand that I don't support that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, we are in the belly of Satan's nation. So, there's not very much the citizens can do to control anything, even with the illusion of voting power. We are selecting people that have already been pre-selected. It's like the best of the worst, right? That's what Americans are really doing. But these people have already been selected into their roles, you know what I mean? But they want Americans to feel like they've been empowered with a choice. It's so cute. Oh my God, it's so cute. But anyways, you guys, let me get Ghetto Planet. Show some love to my moderator. I don't like the passionately ignorant coming over here, and we're very unkind to them as they deserve. Nice to come across a person with education. Most people don't know about bricks. It's not even about education. I am very intentional. I think that knowledge is empowerment. I think in the age of information, ignorance truly is a choice, right? A lot of people running around stupid as hell with a device that is smarter than them. And it's a damn shame. And when you want to talk about you're fearful of AI, it's like, pick up a freaking book and stop letting that phone be smarter than your dumb ass. And that's what a lot of people who are fearful of AI, of course, is going to take you out of the game. You have very low value to offer to society, right? If you're not creating something, right? If you cannot inspire or enlighten, we talk about the 5 social values over here all the time. AI is going to take unactualized humans out of the market, out of the game. The market is always going to need capable human beings. There's no way around it. AI cannot replace capable human beings. The interface of AI cannot replace the organic human experience. And everyone in society, as they're trying to figure out, how do I get a jump on this, is to figure out, how do you personally enhance the human experience on earth? And then when you master what that is for you, you're going to be AI. you're going to have the jump on AI because AI is nothing without humans. AI is emulating humans. It's copying human. And just like the devil is a liar, the devil is a copycat, so is AI models. They got to build all the libraries that your experience have created. There is nothing like the human experience. And that's why I don't like AI to create for me, think for me. I do like to use Grammarly though, because in the talk to text function, but these are me dictating what it's saying. It's not, hey, AI, give me a thought about this. The minute you start letting technology think for you, you might as well just be gone. And that's just my opinion. Anyways, AI is going to take out unactualized humans. It is. It will. It absolutely will. And we live in a very, unactualized society. Last point, and this is a conversation that I got into today. And check out the poll if you didn't participate in a poll. I did put a poll on this live stream. I normally don't do that, but I asked, will the meeting resolve unanswered questions about Charlie Kirk's deletion, right? And 68% of you said no. So again, it was a waste of time at best. All right. It was a waste of time at best. It's not going to solve anything. And again, Candace Owens is going to lead you down the rabbit hole, but you're going to end up blue ball like a Smurf, like Papa Smurf. You're going to end up blue ball like Papa Smurf. And that's just what it is. Okay, last conversation, and then I'm going to jump off. And let me know what you all think, right? So we had this conversation about what a prime woman in society is, right? And this young lady said that men like younger women because of their womb, right? Because she's making the argument that men like younger women just because of their womb, right? And I thought about that because I've heard this argument before. I hear people, on all different, levels and intelligence talk about, dating conversations, and I'm always seeing a target on women over 40. For some reason, I see the memes. It's reoccurrently women over 40. They're washed up. Women over 40. They're this. Women over 40. They're that. Right? And I think about these conversations, and I don't internalize any of this stuff because I don't really, I don't take the opinions of irrelevant people and internalize themselves to me. But I started to think, there is fallacy to the argument that the younger woman is more prime because she can have babies. And I think that a lot of people don't realize the woman's womb, right? The woman's womb. So there's a sweet spot for a woman, right? And it is called the perimenopause phase. And if you're a woman, you're going to understand what I mean by perimenopause, right? Because if you're going through it like me, you know what's up, right? And during perimenopause, women with healthy wombs, they ovulate more. They're expelling more eggs. And so this is where women who are in that age bracket of 40 to 44, not only do they have an increase of getting pregnant, they actually have an increase in having multiple pregnancies, okay? So the argument of younger women being more desirable than being women, in their 40s, there's fallacy to that. You have to be specific because the sweet spot for women in their 40s in terms of being super fertile and able to have kids, that's kind of that biological clock women, that window, that 40 to 44, that is when a woman can get pregnant really quickly. And the reason why I say a woman in that particular age group is probably the most prime woman in society, if a man is really trying to covet a decent woman and not some sex toy or, nothing like that, is because number one, she can still get pregnant. Matter of fact, she's in her heightened pregnancy age between 40 and 41 before the production of eggs start to decrease. So that's one. Two, people in their 40s, and if you're a financial advisor like myself, right, you can vouch for this, right? People in their 40s are considered in their higher earning years. Okay? So not only will a man align with a woman that can still have kids, but she's also in her higher earning years. And if she's in her higher earning years, then she's in her higher learning years, where she's understood life. She's been in the game called life a little bit longer. She knows how it works. She knows how people work. And even her attitude towards your money and her money is not going to be the same as somebody in their 20s. So when men make these arguments that women in their 40s are washed up, I would like to tell you that some of these young YNs or young men right now, they're learning their best sex game from the women in their 40s. Because not only is she ovulating more during that time, she's also very hypersexual in terms of her sexual peak because she's having those hormone changes. So a woman over 40, between 40 and 44, is going to have a higher libido. She's almost going to be like, I feel like my sex drive is like a man right now. It's like I just feel way hornier right now than I've ever felt before, even in my 20s. But I know what's going on with me. I know what is going on with me. It's my hormones. My body is going through what it calls last rites of some of the baby making hormones, right? I am going to be getting into that 44, 45, where a lot of those hormones are going to be lower, but between 40 and 44, you cannot tell me. Every woman in this age group, in my peer group, they have libidos like men right now. So I'm just saying that people make arguments all over the internet about different things. I like to be very specific about some of these arguments. And if you want to feel like women over 40 are washed up, they have low libido, they're this or that, that's on you and your ignorance and maybe your traumas from not being an equitable man that women want. But I will say that there is fallacies to these arguments. And when you look at women 40 to 44, in my opinion, they are the primest that a man can pick. She's not going to be in his pockets because she's already have her own financial stability. She's actually more so looking for partnership and companionship at that point because she's in her higher earning years. So she's not getting with a man to take care of her because she's already been doing that for herself. So, ladies over 40, if you are in between 40 to 44, let me know what you think about this. Are you hornier right now in this right now than you've ever been before? Because you're going through that hormonal change. I'm sorry, perimenopause makes me horny. All right. And again, I believe in sexual self control, but I'm just talking about biologically what happens to a lot of women when they get to that 40 point. They're not slowing down sexually. If anything, they want to have sex more as they're kind of getting into that point of getting out of it, going into menopause. So I think that premenopause is the horny phase for a lot of women. So yeah, they're going to be fucking you like the young women. They'll probably snatch your soul because they're a little bit more experienced. So you'd probably be moaning too. But anyways, you guys, thanks for tuning in to my live stream. Let me know what you guys think about Candace Owens's recap of her meeting with Erica. Do you think that meeting was worth it, productive? Do you feel like you got what you needed? Do you think Candace got what she needed? Was there any resolution? Do you feel like Candace gaslit her audience? Deflecting onto the Tyler Robinson narrative and focusing on that in the show when she's been going so hard at pointing fingers at TPUSA, and all it took was angelic Erica to go meet with her and not tell her to stop, but just kind of explained to her some of the things that she put out in their show and why those things was wrong. And Candace even, conceded that maybe I got that wrong. She said that maybe I spoke out of anger. This is what Candace is saying in her show. So she's gaslighting. And then she turned on this victim element about how people were attacking her and I was just telling the truth and all this stuff like that. This is deflection point. So let's see if she stays the course with how she's been going at Charlie's investigation or if there is a abrupt switch up and now you're going to be focused on the Egyptian plains, you're going to be focused on Jews again, and she might even switch up and go some all other direction to kind of slowly drift you guys away from what she's been doing for the last 3 months. Who knows? You guys having a child in your 40s is insane. I agree. Now, I will say, I would not want to have a child in my 40s. I would probably cry. But I would have a child in my 40s if, you know, I met a man and he was 100% assuring me, because here's the thing, I worked all the way through my pregnancies. I'm a real OG. I'm not like some of these little new moms who like, oh my God, I'm pregnant. It's a disability. They looking at pregnancy as a disability. I'm a real OG. So I carried all of my kids and I worked probably 4 days before one dropped. Literally I was still working when my other two dropped. They just dropped and then I went on maternity leave. You know, but I remember just, having to work and carry the kids and then just the pressure of going back to work and knowing that I had the pressure of going back to work because me working was also a financial aspect of the house. Like, we don't live in a one person income economy, despite what a lot of these people want to claim. Oh, you got to make this much. Like, bitch, you don't even make that much. Like, let's keep it real. Some of the brokest people in society are telling other people how much they got to make to be with them. But I'm realistic. Like, my household would not have been comfortable without my income and my expertise. And so, I went on, maternity leave. That was kind of depressing for me because I nursed all my kids. I nursed for a total of 4.5 years between the three of them. My son was probably the worst to wean, but I like being a mom. I like being a mom, but I also like being a working professional as well. And so, I'm always that work to life balance person where I will give my all, but you still can't give your all and everything. So, long story short, I would not have a child. I would only have a child with a man that would guarantee that I did not have to work moving forward. Or I'm not going to do it. I will have your child that I want to know 100% we're going to be taken care of and that I can just literally retire from my job and focus on being a mom 100%. And I will not have a man's baby that cannot guarantee that 100%. I want to make sure that you can do it all. And I'm not even talking about as soon as the baby drop out, already put like 10 G's in this 529 account. That kind of guy. You can't do that. I ain't having your damn baby. And that's just what it is. Or a custodial account or something. I want an account fully funded when that baby pop out of my ass or my vagina. But anyways, you guys, have a wonderful, it's been cool chilling with y'all. You guys know I'm facetious over here, all right? I don't take none of this shit seriously, right? These are the affairs of Satan's world. So I'm going to commentate and observe on the things that are happening in Satan's world how I want to. And it's a divine comedy to me. And so if you don't like my commentary, right, just understand I'm coming from a lens of facetiousness, even though it's high rationality facetiousness. This shit is funny to me. I don't take a lot of it seriously. And so if you feel like I don't have the same passion for a topic that you have, just understand that you have the emotional commitment. This is humorous for me. All right? Don't try finding guys at the club. I don't go to clubs. I do not go to clubs. I don't even look for men at clubs. So I don't go to clubs. They got smart and are stacking instead. Yeah, I don't recommend people. I think a grocery store is a great way to meet somebody. Just doing everyday activities. You know what I mean? That's a great way to start. And then you got to be able to start conversations too. This guy literally was like, all women are the same. And I was like, that's your damn problem, because all women are not the same. And if you are not smart enough to case the person that you're dealing with, then shame on you. You always going to make the same mistake and you always going to fail. It's like a salesperson, right? A good salesperson knows that you do not approach every single person the same way. You have to read the room. You have to meet that prospect where they are. If they're not a big talker, you try to make sure you get the juicy stuff in there to get them to want to talking, right? If you got a chatterbox, you make sure you keep them on course to the need of what you're offering, right? Really good salespeople know how to read prospects, read their clients, so that they're meeting people where they are, right? But if you're assuming that everybody is the same, all women are the same, and you got women who come from this economic class, this economic class, this economic class, this educational background, this educational background, this educational background, this family structure, this family structure, this family structure, you're a freaking idiot if you're approaching every single woman the same. And you deserve everything you get from them. But, anyways, you guys, thanks for participating in the poll. 33% felt like the meeting that Candace Owens and Erica Kirk did was going to resolve a lot of questions about Charlie Kirk's death. 67% said no, those are the smart people, because that meeting was not going to do that. So 67% of the people who tuned in are smart. Give yourself a round of applause. You're smart. All right, you guys, love your neighbor. Ask yourself, if you would not disrespect or abuse yourself, do not disrespect or abuse your neighbors. Bye. Oh, and subscribe if you like content like this.